Hello everyone, welcome to CFI Education, and this is the second video uh, uh, on financial statements. So earlier we have done analysis of income statement, discussing all the line items, and in this video we are going to start with the balance sheet. So let me just scroll it down a bit. Right. So we are going to discuss all the important line items of balance sheet. So what is a balance sheet? So it represents a firm financial position at a point in time. On a particular date, you get to know the balances of all the assets and liability that you have in your balance sheet. And there are three primary sections of balance sheet. The first one is assets, the second one is liability, and the third one is owner's equity or shareholders equity. So we're going to see a format here, a sample that we have for you guys. Also, we do have a annual report of Facebook balance sheet so that you can see a real company's balance sheet, and you can have a look at it and see how well they match with each other in terms of line items. So we'll go one by one. Let me walk you through the balance sheet of Facebook, and then I will show you some extra line item that I have in this balance sheet sample. Right. So let's get started. So in balance sheet, we do have, as I told you, three things. One is asset, and second one is liability. Third one is shareholder equity. So balance sheet is structured in such a way that your assets are equal to liability plus equity. As you can see here also, so the asset are matching the liability plus equity. So this is the asset side and this is the liability side, where you also have the owner's equity. So let's get started with the asset side. So the first section that we have is current assets, right? So in current assets, we have all the assets which are liquid in nature relative to the other non-current assets. The definition that we have for current asset is anything which can be liquidated in less than or equal to 1 year, or the service can be utilized in less than or equal to in 1 year. All the benefits that you are going to receive, it is going to be less than or equal to 1 year. That's the reason why they are called fairly liquid than the other part of your asset side. First one is your cash and cash equivalents, which is whatever cash that you have in your business, maybe sitting in your bank account, or you have it in your in cash in hand kind of thing, if you're a small business owner, right? So that is your cash, and cash equivalent is something that you have invested for a shorter period of time. So suppose you have so much of amount of cash which is not being used in a day-to-day life. So you'd like to invest some part of your cash in cash equivalents, which may be marketable securities and short-term investments. So let me show it to you what kind of cash equivalents Facebook does have. So I'll just copy this number 17576. I'll do Control F and I'll go to the breakdown of cash and cash equivalents. Yeah. So these are the cash and cash equivalent breakdown. This is a pure liquid cash that you have. Then you have some money market fund, US government securities, certificate of deposits, and short-term debt securities, which can easily be converted into cash in a very short period of time. They may have a maturity of less than 3 months, the ones that we have invested into, but the liquidity, or you can break it in a very short period of time. So that is your cash and cash equivalents. Marketable securities is also a sort of a cash and cash equivalent only. This is also a short-term investment that you have done in various type of short-term securities. So generally, if someone asks me what is a total cash in case of Facebook, I would rather add both the line items, which is 17K plus 44K, which will give me at, I think, 67, right? Yeah, 67, 61K. So that will be, this is the amount that I will consider as a total cash for Facebook, because I understand that if Facebook is in need of cash, they can liquidate both cash equivalents and marketable securities, and they can use the 61K instead of just saying that we have cash as 17K, right? Next is account receivable. So what are account receivable? So it is a credit sale that you have done in your business. So suppose you have done some sort of, let's say, a total sale of 10,000, out of which you have done 5,000 of sales, which is on credit basis. Means you have given the material or the product to your customer, but you haven't taken the money or taken the cash. The amount is yet to come in your bank account, and maybe you have given a time period of 30 to 90 days, depending upon your type of business that you are into, and you have 11,335 millions of account receivable which you are going to receive in future. Generally you give 30 to 90 days of time in most of the business, right? So that's the reason why it is a part of current asset, which is less than 1 year. So after 3 months or 2 months or 1 month, you are expecting that this amount will be liquidated and it will get converted to cash. The fourth one is prepaid expenses and other current assets. So prepaid expenses is something that you have made a payment of something and you are going to receive a benefit of it in the future months, or I mean within 1 month, 1 year, you are going to get a benefit. Let's say you have made some prepaid electricity bill payment or some telecom bill payment or any kind of prepaid advance money that you have given to someone, and you're going to receive the benefit within this financial year. So these are all current assets. You can also check if we have some other different sort of current assets. We have cash, inventory. Yes, so inventory was not there in Facebook, so we can discuss inventory here. So inventory is something, as you might be knowing, that the material that you generally sell to your customers, the products that you hold it in your warehouse or your shop. So that is something that you sell to your customer to get money. So and you generate sales. So all sort of material that you sell, it is called inventory. And you do have a expectation that you will be able to sell this inventory in less than or equal to 1 year. That's the reason why it is into current assets. Sorry. Then you have something. So we have covered prepaid, we have covered cash, we have covered account receivable. The next is accrued income. So what is accrued income? Accrued income is something that you have realized the income which you should receive, but you haven't received it from someone. You're about to receive it in future. So you will receive this money in future. You have just mentioned it as your current assets. The moment you receive it whenever after 2-3 months or within 1 year, this money will become zero and it will go to cash. So it is something you can also very well integrate or connect with account receivable. You're about to receive this money also, you're about to receive this money also. So this is some other form of income that you're going to receive, not related to account receivable. The last one is financial assets. So any investment that you have done in equity and debt instruments, which are short term in nature and also has a maturity of less than 1 or equal to 1 year, that you also can call it as financial assets, or just you can write it as investments, right? So that will be under current assets if it has a maturity of less than or equal to 1 year. Now coming back to the other portion of assets. The first one is equity investments. So I am believing that if you are putting equity investment here, it has a maturity of more than 1 year. If you are putting investment within this group, it must have a maturity of 1 year. Maturity, I mean to say that the maturity, exact maturity may not be less than or equal to 1 year or more than 1 year, but you do have an intention to sell that investment in less than 1 year or more than 1 year. That's how you will think about putting equity investment in one of these buckets, either current or non-current. Second in this non-current is property and equipment. We have already talked about this in income statement. So any kind of machinery, fixed asset that you own in a business, and generally they do have a maturity of a longer time period, definitely more than a year. So that will be non-current assets, and you use this asset to run your business, to produce goods, to make your office, or I mean where you sit and do the business, make your office efficient by using different type of machinery, furniture, anything which is under fixed assets. It is mostly, and in fact, all of this property and equipment is a tangible assets. Then you have operating lease. So you must have taken some lease. Because of that, you do have here it in, you can see it in balance sheet. So I'll talk about operating lease in a minute. Next is your intangible assets. So intangible asset is something that you have some asset which cannot be seen, but it does have a economic value for your business, which is brand equity, brand value, your trademark, your copyright, your patents and all. So that does have a value, and that is also has some defined timeline or the maturity date. Goodwill also, we will talk about it in a minute, because these two things require a separate discussion. So I don't want to lose the big picture of discussing the balance sheet. Other asset is something that you think that some small sort of asset that you have, and smaller assets, you don't want to name it, you just club it under other assets, right? So these are all component of assets. So let me see if I have some extra line items. So we have discussed PP&E, we have discussed intangible assets, goodwill is yet to be discussed, other assets we have discussed. Investment in affiliates, it is more or less your equity investments, right? So you can also call it as investment in affiliates. Generally, this affiliate, investment in affiliate, you use this word whenever you have more than 20% investment in a single company. So chances are that you're going to use the word investment in affiliates or associates. Right? The next is your deferred tax assets. So deferred tax asset is something. So I would like to give a very basic explanation of deferred tax assets. So let's say you have a liability, a deferred, the tax liability of 100, and you have paid 120 to the tax authority. So whatever extra that you have paid, it will be your asset which can be utilized for the future period, right? So anything extra that you have paid, that will form a deferred tax assets in your balance sheet. Just a second, guys. The next one is goodwill. So goodwill we'll talk about in a minute. So let's move to the liability section. So on the current liability side, so we also have again in liability section also the current liability and non-current liability. sorry, non-current liability. It's a typo. And then you have owner's equity. So in current liability, so you should have you have short-term debt, accounts payable, outstanding, and earned income. But before I discuss this sample, let's move back to Facebook balance sheet and talk about the real numbers first, and then we'll talk about the sample statement as well. So under current liabilities, we have something called accounts payable. So what are accounts payable? Accounts payable is something that you have taken raw material, or you have done the purchasing from your supplier, and you have taken the purchase on credit. Means that you have taken the products or the material that you're going to sell, but you haven't paid the money to the suppliers. So you got some time, maybe 30 to 90 days to pay back the money. So it is a inverse of account receivable. Here what you are doing, you are giving your time to your clients to pay. Here you are getting time from your supplier to pay. So it is like purchasing raw material, getting some time, maybe 30 to 90 days, and then you'll pay it in future. So this is the amount that you have to pay to your suppliers. Next is partners payable. It is more or less the same as accounts payable, but it's just that they have this separated a partners payable. So this is also amount you have to pay to your partners after some particular time period, definitely less than 1 year, because that's the reason why it is under current liabilities. Operating lease liability. What is this? So this is something that you have taken some equipment or machinery on lease, or maybe some other type of asset, and you have to pay this much of amount within 1 year. So let me tell you, this has two portions: operating lease liability current and operating lease liability non-current. So non-current means a part of lease liability which has to be paid after 1 year will come here, which is 9631, and part of lease liability which is under current, which you have to pay in less than 1 year, which will be here. So total lease, if I have to sum it up, it is 9631 plus 1023. But they have separated these two because they wanted to show, they have to show this money into pieces. One is the amount which we have to pay within 1 year, the amount which we have to pay after 1 year. So we do have the operating lease liability current and non-current. So any sort of money which you have to pay within 1 year or after 1 year, you have to show it in two pieces or two line items, as two line items. So this is done, this is done, this is done, this is done. Next is occurred expenses. So something you have to pay back, any sort of expenses that you have to pay. You have taken the service already, but you haven't paid the amount. You also can call it as something outstanding expenses. You have to pay. Let's say, suppose you have done some renovation work in your office. You have called some labor and took help of them to get the renovation done, and you are about to pay some money to them. So it is pending. It is yet to be paid, right? Next is deferred revenue and deposit. So deferred revenue is something called, you can also call it as prepaid revenue, that you have received some advance revenue from your customers and you are yet to service them. Generally, it happens a lot with maybe, subscription based company, where you have, as a company, as Facebook, you have sold a subscription for 2 years or 1 year to your client, and they have given you all the money upfront, and then now you have to service, or you have to serve them for the next 1 or 2 years, whatever money that you have received. So within 1 year, definitely it has to be serviced within 1 year. After that, we have covered operating lease. Other liability is something that some smaller liabilities that you have, you don't want to show it as individual liabilities. So you have showed, clubbed them up and shown other liabilities. Now let's see in my template if I have missed anything and any additional item that I may have. So this is liability, guys. This is a typo error. Short-term debt, it is something that it is a debt you have taken from either a bank or third party, and you have to pay this debt within 1 year. Accounts payable we have discussed. Outstanding expenses is nothing but your occurred expenses that we have already discussed. Then you have unearned income, which we can also call it as deferred revenue or prepaid revenue. So this is can also be called it as unearned income, right? Under non-current, we have long-term debt. So short-term debt less than 1 year, long-term debt which we have to pay after 1 year. It is under long-term debt. Next is your deferred tax liabilities. So what are deferred tax liabilities? So now instead of deferred tax assets, we had that time in deferred tax asset, we had to pay this, but we have paid 120. So we have paid extra. So that became a situation of deferred tax asset. But in deferred tax liability, the situation will be a little different, or maybe opposite if I have to say it. So in deferred tax liability, so let's say you had to pay 120 of taxes, but you have just paid 100 of tax and you're yet to pay 20 more. So you have paid lesser amount. So that becomes your deferred tax liability. And you will show it here as deferred tax liability under non-current assets. So if you want to have more information on deferred tax liability and assets, probably I have to create another video where I can show you a case and I discuss a case with you so that you can have even more clarity. But right now, just for the definition purpose, this is what deferred tax liability means, right? So we have discussed both the current and non-current. Now we will move to the equity portion. So let's firstly see for Facebook and then we'll discuss it in a sample balance sheet also. So stockholders' equity is the other form of capital. It is called owner's equity because all the investors who own this business, they are nothing but their amount comes in the liability section under stockholders equity. So there are separate 3 to 4 line items that we have under stockholders equity. One is a common stock, right? So you can also call it as a on paper par value number will come here. So let's say Facebook came up with an IPO way back in more than 10 years ago. So that time they came up with an IPO of, let's say, $40 per share, right? And they had issued 10 lakh share. For example, I'm just taking some random numbers. Right. So 10 lakh shares. So what is the total equity? This is 4 crores or 40. Yeah, 4 crores of total shareholder equity that you have got. But this 40 rupees per share will have some sort of par value, which can be a very small number. As you can see, a common stock, which is a par value of such a small number, which is 0.000006 into this 10 lakh shares. 10 lakh shares. So that will be your common stock, right? what will happen to the remaining 40 rupees? So 40 minus 0.000006. If I have to do $40 minus 0.000006, that is 39.99994 roughly. So this amount 39.99 into 10 lakh share will come in additional paid in capital, which is a premium that you have charged from the investors. So you have given something, you have issued per share of 40 rupees, means you have issued one share at a rate of $40, not rupees, sorry, $40, and you have given a par value of just 0.000006. Remaining 39.9 you have taken as additional paid in capital, which you have charged like 39.99 as a premium from each and every investors, right? So this is how you will split the total equity into two parts, right? Next is, so just give me a minute, let me just clean it up a little bit. Right. Next is, so I'll talk about AOCI a little later. Fourth one is your retained earnings. So what are retained earnings? So retained earnings is something that the net income that you generate from income statement. If you remember, we discussed this. So the net income that you generate from income statement, after you receive a net income, what you do is you reduce the dividend which you have to pay to the investor. So whatever remains is your retained earnings. So this retained earnings, sorry, this retained earnings will come here and it will get added to your shareholder equity. Why? Because equity holders own the business. So all the profit that you generate will be attributable to the owners only, right? So I repeat, so equity holders own the business. That's why we call it as owner's equity. So whosoever runs the business, whosoever owns the business, after paying off the dividend to the shareholders, the retained earnings should be attributable to the equity holder. That's the reason why it is getting added here. So you have added this money and you have arrived at total shareholders equity. So it includes your total capital plus your profits that you have retained in your business after paying dividend. There is something called accumulated other comprehensive income. We also call it as AOCI, right? So there are certain part of profit that you do not put into statement of income because as per accounting standpoint, they cannot be part of your income statement. There are some profit which cannot be part of a statement of income, like maybe unrealized gain and loss from available for sale securities. So don't have to worry about such a small topic. You just need to aware about there are some unrealized gain and loss which comes from your equity securities. There are foreign exchange transaction that through which you get gain some currency gain and loss. All of those money does not come under statement of income. What you do is instead of putting in a statement of income and then it becomes part of retained earnings, you show it as a separate line item and you call it as AOCI. So there is a list of some gains and loss that you generally do not put it in income statement and you directly show it as AOCI gain and loss. So frankly speaking, it is not a make or break situation even if we do not discuss AOCI in detail. So I'll just skip this point AOCI because it may not be too relevant or it will not make or break your understanding of the overall balance sheet. If required, I will create another video of AOCI and put it in our social platforms so that you can get clarified here what is this AOCI, right? So I hope that we have covered everything. The only thing which is left is goodwill, as I told you, right? So I'll discuss it in a with an example. What is goodwill? And also, yes, minority interest that we have also have in balance sheet, as I told you. So let's discuss firstly the minority interest, and then we'll discuss the goodwill part as well. Other than that, we have discussed everything. So let's move to the balance sheet. So if you remember in the first video, we discussed about income statement, how the merging take place and how this merging leads to a minority shareholding case in case of an acquisition which is between 50% to 100%. So minority can only come into picture whenever you do 50% to less than 100% acquisition. If you're doing any acquisition between this percentage, only then the minority shareholders will come into picture. So let's see how a balance sheet gets merged once you do an acquisition of between 50 to 100%. Right? So what I'll do is, again, I will do the similar thing, 1 plus 1. So if you have to merge these two companies, A acquired B at 8,000 INR for 80%. So let's do 1 plus 1 first. Let me do a bit of formatting. Yes. So what we have done is, we have done simple A plus B, as you can see, right? So this is a merging which is done, but what is the next thing that we have to do to create minority shareholders in this case? Again, since they have acquired only 80%, A has acquired 80% of B. It means then 20% must be there with some person or group of people or group of investors, right? Because you haven't acquired, someone else must have those 20% shares, or it can be a single person, it can be a group of investors. We call them minority holders. Just a second, guys, sorry. Call them minority holders. So how will we show it in our balance sheet, right? So there will be two adjustment here. First, you can see that you have acquired 80% of B at 8,000 INR. So suppose if it is a cash transaction, since the combination of this balance sheet should be subtracted by 8,000 INR. Why? Because you have given 8,000 to the person who holds this 80% share or set of people. So your balance sheet total cash will reduce by 8,000. So this plus this minus this should give you the total cash, which is 22,000, right? This is the first adjustment that you will do. And I will just check what is the total that I received, which is 44,000. So the total asset side reduced by 8,000, and we also have to reduce the liability side by 8,000 so that it becomes a matching case. Right now it is not matching. 44,000, 52,000. We have reduced 8,000 here because 8,000 se aapne you purchase company B. So what will happen to the liability side? Since you have acquired 80% of company B, this shareholder equity will reduce by 8,000 because this will cease to exist. So what will happen is this will something of that sort will happen. Both shareholder equity plus 8,000. That will match your balance sheet, right? And as you can see, since you have acquired 80% of B, so 80% of this 10,000 will not be there. Let me just put a formula here, minus 10,000 into 80%, right? So this will look like this. And there is a last change that we have to do. Instead, I will just say shareholder equity company A and shareholders equity company B. And this is shareholder equity company A, 19,000. This is of company B. I will just paste it in a separate line. So this is shareholder equity company A, 19,000, and company B equity is 10,000, right? What will happen is I will keep this 19,000 of company A, which is already a acquiring company and it is into the existence. The company B got acquired. So what I'll do is I will say 10,000 minus 8,000 of share which got reduced because of the acquisition. So the remaining equity of B is only 2,000, which is left, right? And this shareholder equity company B will be renamed as minority interest, right? And now you can see your balance sheet will also match, right? As you can see, 44, 44 each. And this liability side 44 and asset side 44. Last time to review this thing, what I did at last is A acquired 80% of B for 8,000. So what I did, the merged company will have to pay 8,000. So I will reduce cash by 8,000 and simply I will reduce company B equity by 8,000 because the moment I paid 8,000 for the equity, this equity will not be there for 8,000. It will only remain 2,000 and I will change this name to minority interest and company equity A will remain the same. So that's how your balance sheet will look like in case of minority interest if you have to make an adjustment in balance sheet. And that's the reason why I have shown a case of minority here. So you will see many companies balance sheet where we do have minority. In case of Facebook, we do not have. So just give me a minute. Let me just go to balance sheet and show it to you. So yes, as you can see, we do not have minority interest in the balance sheet section, as you can see, right? Now, last thing is your goodwill, which I have kept it for the last. So goodwill is something that suppose goodwill is a reason. You see goodwill here for a reason. If you see goodwill in balance sheet of any company in this world, the chances are that company must have done some sort of M&A. So acquirer, in acquirer's balance sheet, whenever a company acquires any company or do an M&A, the chances are that you will start seeing goodwill in their balance sheet. How it is what is the reason for creation of goodwill in your balance sheet? So let's say you are a company called company A and you have acquired company B, which is Target, right? So you acquired company B. So let's say the net worth of Target company. So let's use the minority case only so that I can show it to you. So let's talk about company B. You have acquired this company. So as per this statement, the total equity of company B is 10,000, right? Which is assets minus liability. So this is a total net worth or equity, you can say. So this is 10,000. So by chance, if you are paying to company B more than 10,000, means if you're paying any company, acquiring any company B, let's say in this case, and if you're paying more than the total equity of the company, more than 10,000, so whatever extra that you pay, let's say you pay 12,000 to buy 100% of company B. So whatever extra you are paying, which is 2,000, will be shown as goodwill in company's A's balance sheet, right? So that's the definition of goodwill. So whenever you acquire extra amount for the company that you're acquiring, suppose this Facebook acquires, for example, I don't know, I mean, let's say Facebook acquire Google, though it is impossible, but let's say they acquire Google. So if they acquire Google and the equity of Google is 1 lakh, but they have paid Google 2 lakh rupees or $2 lakh, whatever it is. So whatever extra that they have given, which means that they have given a premium of 1 lakh to acquire that company, this much of amount will be considered goodwill in a rough sense. I'm not saying that this exactly is goodwill 1 lakh. The reason is you will be reevaluating all the assets and liability of Google first, and then you will arrive at a net worth of the company, and whatever extra that you are paying over and above the net worth of the company, that will be called goodwill. So here we are not revaluating the, we haven't shown the revaluation of all the assets and liability side of Google. We are just saying that the assuming everything is at fair value and everything has been re-evaluated, and after that the shareholder equity is 1 lakh and still you are paying 2 lakhs. So whatever extra that you are paying as 1 lakh, it will be considered goodwill. Right, so we have covered almost everything of balance sheet. If you have any question, just write it in the comment section. I'll try to answer, or through other social media platforms, so that we'll try to answer all your queries. Till then, goodbye and have a great day.